I have one last story that I'm going to share, and I think that it is the best story that represents what Set Apart has always been and what we hope this to be on a very large organizational level. This story started about, and I should back up. At the time, God kept telling me that, and I think this is hard for a lot of artists and creatives, your art almost becomes your God. You are so focused, and at the time I wanted to be the next Rembrandt. I would be Rembrandt. And I was going to be, again, modern day Rembrandt. And that just can consume you. And a lot of artists can talk about that whole struggle. And so, but again, God kept saying, this is not about you. This is not about your art. And I kept saying, okay, great, well, show me what that means. And these are the kind of stories that seem to always happen to me. This was about 13 years ago, and I had the privilege of going with Dr. Tony Evans to Israel on one of his tour groups. I didn't know Dr. Evans. I didn't know anyone on that tour group, but I had a very clear calling in my heart that, again, to paint the Bible, I needed to see the Bible. So I went strictly with the intent of taking 36 rolls of film, which is what I took. Yes, and this is before digital. So, again, that was really the only reason I was going. I just knew I was supposed to go. And I had the privilege of meeting Dr. Evans and eating dinner with him one night. We shared our passions, and we talked about working together. So when I came home, his wife had called and said, well, we're coming to town. Would you mind helping out at Pastor Charles Briscoe at Paseo Baptist Church? I said, oh, that'd be great. It'd be fantastic. I was very excited to use my talents, and I went over with a good friend of mine. We worked together a lot, and we were so blessed. Everything that we did, I thought, turned out so well, and kind of from an individual artist level, we were given all these opportunities and doing all these, every format you could think of, even to bus ads, billboards. It was amazing. And Pastor Briscoe was so great at facilitating all the diverse talent. A lot of people didn't know each other, and everybody got to use their gifts. But then at the end, we realized we couldn't sell all the tickets. And we quickly decided as a group, well, why don't we give them to the people who need it most? The people who might not afford it. And only because of some of my past travels and experiences, I just decided to head out and see where the Lord would lead me. And I'd worked a lot with the Salvation Army on the Missouri side, but being the adventurer I am, I thought I'd go to the Kansas City, Kansas side. Well, I ended up in an AA meeting, did not know anybody there in Kansas City, Kansas, and did not know the man who was leading it, and there was about 60 people in the room. And all of a sudden, I got this great fear. I don't usually get scared when I'm passionate about what I do, but there was just this intensity and this vibe that people might not like me and they didn't want me there. And here I am, this Christian Opie Taylor, going to give them the message. This is not good. And then there was this man that was about 4 rows back and nobody was sitting in front of him, and I couldn't help but lock in on this man because he wouldn't stop looking at me. His hair was standing straight up. He hadn't combed it in, I think, many days. He had tattoos all over his arms, and this was in short sleeves. This was before tattoos were in vogue. And he was just staring at me, and I'm not exaggerating. He was sitting in this chair, slouched over, looking at me like this. And he just wouldn't, and I was just hypnotized. I couldn't quit looking at him. And then I look at his shirt, and this is what it says. Don't eat me off. I'm running out of places to hide all the bodies. So at this point, I'm thinking, not only do these people not like me, I think this man wants to hurt me. I'm like, I need to hurry up. So I went through the presentation. It was a short one. And at the end, I always ended with this. We just ask that you please use these tickets. We don't want to prevent anyone else from coming. So again, if you take a ticket, please promise you'll use it. Well, about, I don't know, half the room raised their hand. I wouldn't have bet $1 that anybody would have raised their hand. Most of them even asked if they could have 2, one for their spouse. And then that same man, I'll never forget, raises his hand and says, can I have 5? I'd like to take my whole family. I will never forget that look on his face. I will never forget the sound of his voice. It was like I had given them this lifeline of hope. And I knew it wasn't me. It definitely wasn't my art. And it definitely wasn't my presentation. And I felt very clearly that God was saying, you see, that's great you had this individual joy with me and this relationship with me, but this goes way beyond your creativity, way beyond that finished piece of artwork. I'm allowing you to see this trail of God's creativity. So not wanting to test my protection anymore on the Kansas side, I hurriedly went back to the Missouri side, and I can tell you many, many more stories just like that. It seemed like wherever I showed up, everybody wanted tickets. Everybody was so excited to see me. I can remember, and this was the thing that most people said to me was, "Thank you for thinking of me." They had tears in their eyes. No one usually thinks of us. This story is still not dead. It keeps on giving, but I'll just end with this last part. Out of that, I was even able to meet Pastor Thurman Mitchell. He saw the presentation that we had done, and he had a huge heart for presentation. And I can remember driving around in the car with him and spending a lot of days with him, brainstorming and what we wanted to do with the city, because he had this very strong belief that he said, you know, Christianity has the best message, but oftentimes we have the worst presentation. He said, we need to raise the bar. I said, well, I can't agree more. But then he died suddenly. Again, left me confused. God, you give me this purpose, what am I supposed to do? I'll never forget then at his funeral, being so encouraged, because I saw this huge banner, and it said, "What would you do for me if you knew I wouldn't let you fail? Jesus." I've never stopped thinking about that. That is why Kristen and I are here today. This is what we would do because we know that Jesus will not let us fail. And he has proven that my whole life. And this whole ministry is about helping others, and hopefully you ask that same question. What would you do for Jesus if he wouldn't let you fail?